They still travel by horse and buggy, but they've out-innovated us at limiting distraction long before Silicon Valley coined digital detox. The Amish spirit of refusal traces back to Jacob Ammon's 1693 meltdown over fancy coat buttons. Europe had just shaken off the Black Death. These folks were already trimming away anything that pulled eyes from God. By the time railroads stitched America, Amish bishops were rewriting the Ordnung, those unwritten but iron rules, so that wires stringing across a field looked as menacing as musket barrels once did. Electricity's biggest sin? Dependence. Hook a house to the grid, and the world can pull you along like a fish on nylon line. Better to pump water with diesel, cool milk with compressed air, and light kitchens with whiter-than-white kerosene. Sparks must remain portable, controllable, ignorable. That's why a gas-powered washing machine, roaring like a lawnmower inside Grandma's pantry, can pass muster while a silent two-slot toaster earns public shaming. Yet cell phones, pocket portals to a fire hose of temptation, sometimes sneak by. The loophole is brilliant in its kludgy logic. Electricity delivered by buried cable equals dependency on outsiders. Electricity stored in a battery you own, swapped at a local English repair shop, equals autonomy. No wires, no surrender. So you'll see Jonas Yoder steering a buggy with leather reins in his left hand, while his right thumb fires off a terse text about feed prices. The phone rides shotgun, literally. Stashed beside a folding triangle reflector he snaps on only when crossing state highways. Regulations, not piety. When the battery fades, Jonas clips a tiny solar panel to the barn roof. Off-grid juice, argument 1. But wait, it gets even weirder. Amish carpenters run air-driven nail guns louder than rock concerts, powered by diesel compressors parked outside the job site. They'll crank engines all day so long as a belt or hose keeps the mechanical heartbeats at one respectful remove. Electricity through metal veins? Forbidden. Explosions of fossil fuel in a converted tractor motor. Bless your heart, brother. Nail that joist. Community cohesion is everything. A member who wires a kitchen risks more than gossip. Excommunication means no borrowing bale or twine, no sharing threshers, and no handshake business deals. Effectively, economic death. Oddly, you can buy a flip phone from Walmart, tuck it behind a grain sack, and as long as you don't Instagram your beard, the bishop may pretend he never saw it. Consider the tale of Mary Stoltzfus, a 23-year-old midwife who concealed a prepaid Nokia for emergencies. She delivered twins during a February blizzard after calling an English neighbor to plow the lane. The church elders debated for weeks, punish the tool or praise the lives saved. They settled on confiscating the SIM card during communion seasons, a compromise worthy of medieval scholastics arguing about angels on pinheads. Telephones themselves entered Amish life a century ago, but only as communal booths at the end of farm lanes, far enough that gossip required boots or a bike. Think confessional rather than living room fixture. By the 1980s, some districts permitted cordless handsets. On one condition, the base station sat in an unheated shed, making every winter conversation a penance, because apparently normal warmth would make God's words too comfortable. Electric lights fail the autonomy test twice over. First, they tether you to the power company's whims. Second, they invite nighttime leisure, radio, TV, endless reading of catalogs. Darkness, in Amish reasoning, should cue rest, not sitcoms. Cell phones, however, run out of juice quickly. They discipline themselves. Forget to top up and temptation evaporates. Intermittence is virtue. The Ordnung mutates like medieval canon law, one district at a time. Swartz and Truber Amish ban reflective triangles. Orange is flamboyant. Require lanterns on carriages and treat phones as serpents. New Order congregations, birthed in the 1960s holiness movement, might allow smartphones so long as filtered apps trash video. Between them sprawls a spectrum wider than Catholic indulgences in Luther's day. Travel 10 miles, and the eternal salvation of a Bluetooth earpiece flips from damnation to shrug. During Rumspringa, those sow your oats years before baptism, teenagers may hide earbuds beneath broad-brimmed hats while blasting country pop. Church elders tolerate the sowing because choice must be free to matter. 90% come back, trade the playlist for hymnals, and hand over their gadgets. The other 10% vanish into our always-on world where refusing anything is optional and therefore impossible. You'd think 1919 rural electrification would tempt them. It did. Some plugged in, got shunned, begged for readmission, and rewired barns in penitent dark. One Ohio farmer secretly powered a cream separator at night, draping blankets over windows so neighbors saw nothing. His 5-year-old tattled during Sunday school, because of course she did, and the shunning lasted longer than prohibition. Lesson learned: no wires, no whispers. Amish dairy operations today loom over FDA inspectors. Without electricity, their bulk tanks chill milk via ice harvested from ponds or propane-fed absorption units. It works, but inspectors fret about bacteria. So bishops allow a diesel engine driving a generator, separate building, mind, whose sole purpose is to spin refrigeration compressors. The freezer hums. The house stays lantern-lit. Lines drawn tighter than any zoning code. Television? Never. The screen destroys conversation, invites vanity, and worst of all, flickers in color. But a $200 Android handset, clamped to airplane mode, serving only as calculator and address book? Some bishops shrug. They know every relative across the fence owns one anyway. Better the tool hides under a bonnet than the teenager hides in a Greyhound seat headed for Pittsburgh. Every allowance breeds its own backlash. In Holmes County, an old order faction now forbids mobile phones because texting crept into barns during milking, slowing down chores. Idle thumbs, idle souls, quipped one deacon, channeling St. Benedict with a Pennsylvania Dutch accent. Another district permits flip phones only if encased in bright green covers, so any sneaky upgrade to a smartphone stands out like neon sin. The logic twines back to medieval monastic life. Benedictines rejected clocks for centuries, trusting bells and sunlight. Cistercians embraced water wheels, but nixed decorative carvings. Technology was never evil per se. Its social side effects were. The Amish merely extend that hesitation into our century, testing each gadget like a suspicious dog sniffing meat. Even globalization can't bulldoze Amish hedges. A woodshop crafting mission-style chairs won't touch CAD software, yet their fax machine spits orders to a Chicago wholesaler daily. Paper strips good, Ethernet bad. When fax lines threaten to vanish, they switch to email via third-party service. A non-Amish intermediary prints messages, drops them off like medieval couriers. The bishop signs off because the electromagnetic guilt stops at the printer drum. Then there's solar power, the theological fig leaf of the 2000s. Panels charge batteries that run LED lights in barns, easing winter chores. Off-grid again, no moral harm. But panels spawned charge controllers, which spawned inverters, which quietly birthed 120-volt outlets. And suddenly, the Ordnung fights a hydra of extension cords. One Indiana district now limits panel wattage to whatever powers essential barn lighting and nothing more, releasing a list as dense as papal bulls. Still, the cell phone endures. Business demands real-time price shifts. An Amish truck farmer needs to know sweet corn rates at dawn to load accordingly. So a flip phone rings in the buggy, speaker turned low. He gets the number, rides 10 miles, and never once touches a light switch. Modernity sliced into precise shapes, each edge sanded until it barely pricks the soul. Community surveillance enforces these edges. Children note whose buggy glows with illegal LED strips. Women gossip about a cousin's suspicious glow behind bedroom curtains. Beginning, middle, and end of discipline is belonging. Fear of exclusion makes obedience cheaper than gasoline. And yet, they laugh at our addictions. Ask Bishop Eli why he refuses electricity, and he'll nod at your glowing screen. Your cord is longer. Length equals leash. Their phone dies in a day. Yours sucks your attention every waking minute. Autonomy through limitation. They've hacked the hacker culture without touching a keyboard. Paradoxically, resisting one technology forces mastery of others. Amish craftsmen turn out cabinetry rivaling Italian ateliers, measuring by candlelight yet hitting tolerances that make Home Depot cry. They know wood grain like we know Wi-Fi passwords. Take away plug-in tools and skill must bloom. The Ordnung becomes a very strict teacher, handing out callous diplomas. Historical whiplash never ends. In 1865, the Amish rejected steel-rimmed wheels as too prideful. In 2025, they lease satellite imagery to monitor crops. Through an English broker faxing printouts, naturally, one bishop likened satellites to Noah's dove, information delivered without earthly wires. Yes, you read that correctly. If you think all this is quaint, consider retention rates hover around 85%. They lose fewer young adults than Harvard loses freshmen. Meanwhile, the plugged-in world hemorrhages attention spans and forgets dinner conversations. Maybe the Ordnung's barbed wire fences in more sanity than they fence out progress. Excommunication remains the nuclear option. A man who installs a hidden breaker box risks eternal ban from family meals. Yet even shunned souls seldom flee far. They move to Mennonite congregations. Electric lights, yes, TV, no, and still speak the dialect. The call of community hums louder than any transformer. And should an Amish farmer truly crave Netflix, he can buy land in the electric district 2 counties over. The bishop there, facing youth outflow, quietly allows in-home generators if wiring stays exposed along baseboards. Visible shame beats secret sin. Thus, a living museum rebuilds itself daily, board by board, contradiction by contradiction. What about 5G? Too early to tell. Some elders fear tower radiation. Others fear tower content. They're testing handheld routers in shops where English employees outnumber church members. If the data stays within plywood walls, perhaps salvation remains intact. Somewhere, Jacob Ammon spins and sighs. Our civilization ridiculed them for rejecting zippers. Now we pay gurus to teach mindfulness. We flaunted neon kitchens. Now we hang Edison bulbs to mimic kerosene glow. Their horse-drawn courting rides look suspiciously like our no-phones date nights. Progress, it seems, keeps lapping itself. So next time you doomscroll at 2 a.m., remember the man jailed for one light bulb. His descendants milk cows by starglow, pick up a cell phone only when purpose trumps boredom, and sleep when darkness tells them to. Somewhere in that blacked-out farmhouse, a charged Nokia quietly blinks, reminder that technology isn't a yes or no switch, but an argument. One they keep winning by saying, sometimes.